Okay, so good afternoon everyone. Hello, rinig ba yung audio ko? Can you give me a thumbs up if rinig naman yung aking audio? No? Teka. Thumbs up. Yan, rinig. Okay. So, good afternoon everyone. So, again, since this is our first synchronous session, so pakilala ko lang yung sarili ko. So, hi, I'm Sir Tristan. So, I'll be your instructor for the summer bridging program of the LRC for chemistry. Okay, so I just finished my bachelor's degree dito din sa UP Manila. So, I've been a tutor sa LRC before, and now I'm still teaching sa LRC. Okay, so I apologize guys kasi late ko na post yung recording ko for asynchronous kahapon So na-post ko lang siya nung madaling araw. At yan. Or kanina yan. So panoorin na lang siya. However, it doesn't necessarily affect naman our discussion for this afternoon kasi ibang topic naman yung ating ituturo. So for that, ang tinuro ko ay yung ating mga quantum numbers, ang ating introduction to the hydrogen atom. Ayan. So for this time naman, we are moving to a larger phenomenon which is in terms of our periodicity. So may dalawang parts yung ating discussion for this afternoon. So first is your periodicity and the second one is our VSEPR or yung ating mga valence shell electron repulsion theory. Okay? So if you're ready, can you give me a thumbs up if ready na kayo mag-chem? Ayan. Sige. So curious lang, lahat ba dito may ayaw nyo ba ng chem or you can send me a message. Gusto niyo bang inaaral ang chem? Like, is it one of your favorites? Ayan. Or hindi masyado? Kasi actually it's a factor of understanding in chem kung gusto mo talaga siya inaaral or not. Ayan. Okay, sige. So, without further ado, I guess we can start since naka-record na rin naman ang ating session for this afternoon. Okay? Okay. I like chem the same way I like being exposed to uranium. Well, it depends. Okay, sige. So, for this afternoon, we'll be again tackling ating periodicity, ano? So, what is periodicity? Essentially, ito yung tinuturo nung high school at senior high school na left, right, increases, decreases, up and down, increases, decreases. Ayan, yung mga electronegativity, electron affinity, na probably nung high school ay hindi siya masyadong tinuturo na in-depth. No? So when you go to college kasi, when you go to and take your college chemistry classes, hindi na po siya approach ng parang senior high or high school na it's a memorization thing, It's not a memorization thing na when you go to college. Okay? So it's more on understanding why is the certain reactivity like this or like that. Okay? So ano yung mga factors? Say for example, the periodicity, will it increase or decrease? You need to understand the concept behind all of those. Okay? So that's what we are going to teach you this afternoon. So first, let's dive into the concept of effective nuclear charge. So what is effective nuclear charge? So the effective nuclear charge is the nuclear charge felt by an electron when both the actual nuclear charge and the repulsive effects of shielding of the other electrons are taken into account. So, ang ibig sabihin lang guys ng effective nuclear charge ay essentially para siyang force at which kino-consider natin, 'di ba, yung ating mga subatomic particles, we have same charges, say for example, a proton and a proton, an electron and an electron, ano? So they have same charges and what will they do if they interact with one another? They will experience repulsion. And at the same time naman, pag meron din silang tinatawag na ating mga attraction, ano? So technically, both of our forces, repulsion and attraction, acts in our atom. Okay? So for the Z effective or the nuclear charge, ang kailangan nyo intindihin dito ay essentially, gaano ba tumataas ba siya or bumababa yung ating effective nuclear charge? So the effective nuclear charge is given by the equation ZF is equal to Z minus S. Okay? So we will have an example later on kung paano ba yung equation na yan ginagamit. Okay? So just to know or just to give you an overview, the effective nuclear charge increases across the period and it decreases down the group. So bakit kaya siya nag-i-increase pag papunta sa period? Say for example, pag ganyan yung movement natin, bakit kaya? Meron ba kayong mga meron ba kayong mga nabasa before? Okay, sige. Benedict, bakit kaya nag-i-increase?
I think because, sir, the positive charge, sir, when across the period increases too, sir.
Okay. So actually, that's not the case, no? Pero sige, for positive charges kasi as you can see, 'di ba? Ang placement ng ating mga protons or ating mga atoms sa periodic table, we're moving from metals to non-metals. So, kung ano bang ginagawa usually ng mga metals, they tend to donate electron density. Tatanggal mo siya ng positive charge. Technically, as you move from left to right, you are decreasing the positive charge. Okay? So, sino pa? Sino pa may idea? How about, yung nag-raise ng hand kanina, sino yun? Parang nawala siya bigla. Ayun na. Ayan, si Gabriel. Okay, sige Gabriel. Ano idea mo kung bakit nag increase siya across the period?
It's just a guess, but maybe it has something to do with the atomic number or the amount of uh electrons.
Okay, so possible. Okay, meron din nagsagot ng about sa octet. Actually, those are actually medyo malalapit, pero that's not exactly the explanation for this one. The exact explanation bakit kaya nag increase ang ating effective nuclear charge when you're going or when you're crossing periods from left to right, is essentially it has something to do with the innate properties of your atoms in terms of your electronegativity and in terms of their electron affinity. So, ano ba nangyayari usually when you're moving across a period? The electronegativity increases, the electron affinity also increases, and at the same time, the atomic radius decreases. So, if we're going to look at this, say for example, this is a large atom, and we have a smaller atom here. So, if I'm going to ask you guys, kung nandito yung mga electrons sa outer layer, electrons yan sa mga outer layer, sino kaya ang mas makakapag-experience ng attractive force? Yung mas malapit or mas malayo sa nucleus? Hmm? What do you think? What do you think? What will happen if you place the charge mas malayo sa nucleus at mas malapit sa nucleus? Ano mangyayari sa attraction nila? Will it strengthen or will it weaken? What do you think? Okay, Benedict, what do you think?
I think, sir, as the electrons, sir, go farther away from the nucleus, sir, the attraction of the column force, sir, between the two, sir, will be decreasing and vice versa, sir.
Okay,
If the electron is closer to the nucleus, the force or the column force will be stronger.
okay, so very good. So again, this is again governed by the laws of our physics, ano? So yung distance between them should be shorter in order for us to have a stronger interaction, ano? So, the reason why bakit nag increase ang ating effective nuclear charge across the group kasi maliit yung ating atom tapos malakas pa siya manghila ng mga electrons sa labas. So, anong tendency nun, guys? May hila niya yung ating mga electrons papunta doon sa nucleus. Instead of giving them away, the electrons would be tightly packed in papunta dun sa ating nucleus which is positively charged. Okay? So how about if going down the group, why is it decreasing? Ba't naman siya nagdi-decrease? So the reason for this, guys, kasi, di ba, as you go down the group, what will happen to the atomic radius? The atomic radius increases, di ba? Lumalaki po yung ating mga atom kasi nga lumalaki din yung kanilang mga orbitals na nakukuha. So say for example, when you're comparing hydrogen with our sodium, what will happen to the atomic radius of sodium? Siyempre, mas malaki siya kasi mas madami siyang particles na kinikerry as compared to our hydrogen. So in that essence, guys, malalaman natin na lumalaki yung ating atomic radius. So anong implication pag lumalaki yung ating atomic radius? Ang implication po niya pag lumalaki yung ating atomic radius ay essentially lumalayo yung mga electrons natin from our nucleus, making them feel na they are an isolated case, no? So parang lumalayo siya diyan, ako na lang. Sige, so madali na lang ako tanggalin kasi humihina yung ating effective nuclear charge. Okay? So again, ano nangyayari sa nuclear charge? It increases from left to right kasi lumiliit yung ating atom, mas malapit yung nucleus and our outer electrons. Okay? Meanwhile naman, as we go down the group, nagdi-decrease siya. Bakit? Kasi nagkakaroon tayo ng paglaki ng atomic radius, making the interaction of the nucleus to the electrons quite weaker. Naintindihan? Naiintindihan ba? Can you give me a thumbs up if gets? Ayan. Okay. So let's try to do calculations for our effective nuclear charge. Okay? If you have any questions, guys, feel free na mag-message ha. So, in college kasi, guys, baka nung high school kasi nahihiya kayo na magtanong, ano, na baka i-judge kayo. Okay? So, when you go here, when you enter the university, huwag kayo mahihiya magtanong. Walang so very stupid na question as long as you are willing to learn. Okay? Ayan. So let's have here an example. Ano? So what is the effective nuclear charge for an electron in the N is equal to 3 shell in an atom of aluminum? Okay. So if I'm going to ask you guys, do you have a periodic table there? Ay, baka nagtataka kayo hindi po minimemorize ang periodic table hindi yun legit. Okay? Hindi nyo kailangan i-memorize ang periodic table. Okay? So what's the atomic number of aluminum? What's the atomic number of aluminum? 13. Very good. So in this certain formula, the Z effective is equal to the number of protons or the Z, yung Z value, minus the orbital given. So if this is 3, so ibig sabihin natin yan ay so ibig sabihin yan it is 13 minus 3. Okay? So in that sense, we have minus 10. Okay? So the effective nuclear charge would be equal to 3. Okay? So ibig sabihin yan guys, pag binigyan ka ng energy level, you can simply subtract them with your given na number of protons para makapag-solve tayo ng effective nuclear charge. Okay? So, ano naman, this is only, yung ganito mga topics are only given siya sa ano, as far as I know, binibigay lang siya sa General Chemistry 1 and 2, yung ating Chem 19, if meron magbabiochem sa inyo, ayan. So, most of the time, ang concept ng effective nuclear charge, guys, ay essentially in terms of gaano ba kalakas yung effective nuclear charge at hindi. So, not all the time you need to calculate. What you just need to understand is, pag lumalaki po yung atomic radius natin, lumiliit yung ating effective nuclear charge kasi lumalayo siya sa ating nucleus. Pag lumiliit naman yung ating atom, lumalakas ang effective nuclear charge, kaya kasi lumalapit siya sa ating nucleus. Okay? So, just keep that in mind, guys. Isipin niyo yung logic na yon. Yun yung pinaka importanteng malaman niyo when it comes to effective nuclear charge. Okay? Since di naman kayo mag-i-Slater's rule and everything. Okay? So you don't need to do that. Yan. How about the atomic radius? So this is the most relatable uh, periodic trend. Ano? So if you're going to say the atomic radius, the formal definition of this is it is the half the distance between the two nuclei in a two adjacent atoms. So say for example, you have here again. So essentially the distance between them would actually give you your atomic radius, no? So in the sense na pag pinagsama mo yung dalawang yan, yung half nung distance na yun, yun yung tinatawag nating atomic radius. Okay? So, maraming implications kasi ang atomic radius. So, first implication of atomic radius is in terms of your bond stability. Okay? What do we say or what do we mean when it comes to bond stability? Okay? So bond stability actually means na, say for example, do you know hydrochloric acid? Alam niyo ba yung hydrochloric acid? Muriatic. Okay, sige. So the structure of actually hydrochloric acid, it's made up of your hydrogen and your chlorine atoms. So if I'm going to ask you guys, ah nasa ang row si Cl sa periodic table? Nasaan siya? Nasang row siya? Third row. How about hydrogen? It's in the first row and first element. So anong implication nun? 'Di ba? From high school no, maliit po yung alam natin na maliit lang yung ating hydrogen atom. And at the same time, kung nasa third row yung ating chlorine atom, malaki po yung ating chlorine atom. So anong implication niya? So say for example, ito yung hydrogen natin. Ito po yung chlorine atom natin. So pag pinag-bond mo sila together, guys, this creates a very labile na bond. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya ganun ka-stable na bond, making them break easily. Okay? Matatanggalan po ng hydrogen yung ating HCl. Okay? So, ang ibig lang sabihin niyan, kaya siya tinatawag na muriatic acid kasi, di ba, the definition of an acid, it's something that you donate a H plus atom. Okay? From the Bronsted-Lowry definition. So, in that case, ang implication na itong sinasabi natin, pag masyadong malaki yung difference ng atomic radius ng dalawang atom, they tend to be less stable. Okay? Kaya, kasi again, madaling ipitakin yung kanilang mga bonds. So, yun yung isang implication ng atomic radius. Another implication of atomic radius is in terms of yung kagaya na sinabi natin kanina, is your effective nuclear charge. Kasi again, pag lumalaki po yung ating atomic radius, the more electrons, the more protons that you are giving sa ating isang atom, the atomic radius also increases. So, ang pinaka-obvious na trend dyan is say for example, tignan niyo sa periodic table ninyo, yung first row of elements, ano, as you go down that group, the size of the atom significantly increases. So in that essence, guys, iba-iba yung kanilang reactivity. So sodium would react differently with your more metallic or larger atoms, no? So iba-iba po siyang reactivity. It's because of their atomic radius. Okay? So the atomic radius is measured by your X-ray diffraction. So, if magte-take kayo ng biochem courses, no, you'll be studying also X-ray diffraction, paano siya nag-work. Ayan, if narinig niyo na siya before, ayan, matututunan niyo siya in college, okay? So, the trend for atomic radius is across the period or from left to right, it decreases. Meanwhile, down the group, it increases. Okay? Why is this the case? Okay? So, do you have any idea bakit kaya nagde-decrease ang atomic radius as you go from left to right and nag-i-increase siya from top to bottom? More protons is equal to more attraction of electrons. Possible. Sige, Benedict.
Sir, idea, sir, if we increase, sir, the periodicity, sir, from left to right, sir, one is the correct answer, sir. I think, sir, is the more protons will be marami pong protons doon, sir, sa atom, sir, and then therefore mas malakas po yung attraction. Meanwhile po, sir, habang bumababa po tayo doon sa group, sir, nagkakaroon, sir, ng panibagong orbital, if I'm not mistaken, sir, yung principal quantum number, sir, which then increases the atomic radius, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Sige, so let's clarify that answer further. So you have an idea about that. However, the exact answer for this is actually, as you grow across the period or from left to right, what factor also increases? Ano nag-increase from left to right? Well, one of which is actually your electron affinity and as well as your nuclear charge. Kasi nga, lumiliit yung ating atom. Anong tendency nung pag lumalaki yung nuclear charge at lumalaki din yung ating electron affinity, what will happen? Essentially, yung ating nucleus, it tends to attract more electrons towards the center. So parang ano yan, parang yung pag lumiliit yung ating mga atoms, they are essentially para silang nag-group hug, ano? Dito lang kayo sa akin, malapit lang kayo sa akin, okay? So in that sense, hindi po nila napapalaki yung kanilang atomic radius masyado. Okay? Meanwhile, pag pababa ka ng group, maliban sa dumadagdag nga naman talaga yung number of electrons sa orbital, ang another reason is humihina kasi yung ating effective nuclear charge, which makes your atom, kumbaga, interact less with your nucleus, ano? So kahit nag-i-increase yung kanyang number of protons, yung distance kasi ng ating mga in this in distance kasi ng ating mga electrons from the nucleus ay significantly nagbabago, making them less likely na mag-react together. Okay? So, that's the main reason why we're going down the group ay nag-i-increase yung ating atomic radius and nagdi-decrease din yung ating atomic radius when you're moving from left to right. Okay? So, do you understand? Naintindihan po kung kung paano siya tamang i-explain? Na 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 naintindihan? Can you give me a thumbs up? Okay? Ayan, very good. So, ganun lang siya, guys. The way that I'm approaching or teaching you chemistry, hindi siya kailangang i-memorize. Kailangan nyo lang imagine yung isang atom. Anong mangyayari sa kanya pag lumaki, lumiit. Okay? Anong mangyayari sa kanya sa effective nuclear charge. Ayun. So, you do not need to memorize everything kasi you'll be able to understand if you can imagine na ikaw yung atom na yun. Ano mangyayari sa akin? Okay? So that's how you do chemistry, guys. You don't memorize chemistry. You need to understand the trends in chemistry. Okay? Ayan. Sige. Let's now proceed to your ionic radius. So anong difference po ng ionic radius? So the ionic radius is the radius of the cation or an ion. Again, from high school, what's your cation? Is it positive or negatively charged?
Positive.
Okay, positive. So your anion is your negatively charged particle. So what will happen if naging cations or anion yung isang atom? 'Di ba? From previous slide, nahanap natin atomic radius. But what about if nagkaroon siya ng cation or anion in the system? Okay. So cations in general are essentially smaller than our anions if they are isoelectronic. So, ibig sabihin, pag sinabi mong isoelectronic, guys, say for example, sodium plus and neon ay isoelectronic to. Same sila ng electron configuration. Okay? How about Mg2 plus and neon? They are essentially isoelectronic din. Okay? So, yan po yung tinatawag ng isoelectronic state. Pareho sila ng electron configuration. Okay? So ano pong implication ng ating pagkakaroon ng ionic radius sa ionic radius when we have cations or anions? So let's have this example. We know na sodium plus is isoelectronic with neon. And magnesium 2 plus is also isoelectronic with neon. So if I'm going to ask you guys, sino kaya ang mas malaking ionic radius? Is it magnesium or is it sodium? Sino ang mas malaking atomic radius? Is it magnesium 2 plus or sodium plus? What do you think? Since pareho naman sila isoelectronic with neon.
Sodium
Okay?
plus, sir.
Okay, sodium plus. So why is it the case? Again, it's because of the charge. Okay, bakit kaya pag nag increase yung charge natin, mas nagiging positive, increase yung positive natin, mas nagiging smaller yung ating nucleus. What do you think is the reason? Bakit kaya as you increase the charge or increase the positive charge, lumiliit yung ating ions? What do you think? Anong reason? The nucleus attracts the electrons? Actually, no. What will happen? There are less electrons. So, very good. So, essentially, there are less electrons in our system. So, pag may less electrons ka, ano mangyayari doon sa outer layer mo? Probably, mababawasan siya ng electron density. Possibly, mabawasan din siya ng isang orbital. Kaya po, lumiliit yung ating ionic radius. So say for example, kuwari ganyan yung ating orbital, tapos meron siyang dalawang electrons dito. Tinanggal natin yung dalawang electrons. Ano matitira natin? Edi ito na lang. So in that case, lumiliit po yung ating orbital kasi nababawasan yung ating mga electrons. So vice versa naman siya when it comes to anions. So anions will have a larger ionic radius kasi guys, ang mangyari sa kanya, magigain siya ng electrons, no? So ibig sabihin yan, yung orbital na yon, madadagdagan pa ng kanya mga electrons and possibly makapag-form siya ng another form of your orbital, okay? So making them quite larger as compared to your as compared to your cations in your system. Naintindihan? Naintindihan? Okay? Sige. Ayan, very good. So, ganun niyo siya iisipin, guys. Nababawasan yung electrons pag positive. So, nadadagdagan yung electrons pag negative. So, therefore, lalaki ulit yung ating talagang ionic radius. Okay? So, again, hindi nyo siya kailangang i-memorize. What you just need to do is to understand what happens. So, bakit kaya hindi ang explanation dito bakit kaya ang explanation natin ay nadadagdagan or nababawasan yung electrons, hindi yung number of or the interaction with your protons? It's because, guys, saan ba nagtatanggal yung ating electrons? Is it the inner electrons or is it the outer electrons? The outer one or your valence electrons, right? So in that case, guys, essentially, ang variable natin dito ay yung outer electron, hindi po yung inner parts natin. It's not the nucleus, it's not your inner electrons, rather your outer electrons. Naintindihan? Okay? Sige, ayan. Ayan. So for this one, for each of the following pairs, which one of the two species is larger? So una, sino mas malaki? O2 minus or F minus? Sino mas malaki? O2. Sige, check natin. O2 minus, high yung sagot ninyo. How about for letter B? Which is larger? SR2 plus or Ca2 plus? Which is larger? SR2 plus or Ca2 plus? SR2 plus, sige. Sabi natin, assume natin tama muna yan, okay? So let's have here carbonate carbonate, cobalt 3 plus and cobalt 2 plus. Which is larger? Cobalt 3 plus or cobalt 2 plus? Which is larger? Okay? Let's say, since mas madami nagsagot ng cobalt 3 plus, siya yung consider natin cobalt 3 plus now. Okay? So let's check if our answers are the same or answers are correct. So essentially guys, for una, alam natin na sino mas malaking charge? Is it O2 or is it F minus? Mas malaking charge nung si O2, 'di ba? Si O2 minus. So anong ibig sabihin? Mas malaki or mas maliit yung ionic radius? The ionic radius will be greater for, ano siya mas malaki? Sa oxygen. Okay? Kasi nga, mas malaki po yung kanyang charge. So technically, tama tayo. Sagot for number 1. Okay? How about for number 2? Pareho siyang Ca2+. At parang 2 plus yung kanilang charge. So ano po yung binabago natin dito? Ano binabago natin sa letter B? Kung pareho naman siya ng charge, what are we changing? It's the period, okay? So, sino mas nasa baba? Si calcium or si strontium? Sino mas nasa baba? Calcium or strontium? It's your strontium. So, what is our trend? Ano yung pababa? Ano nangyari ulit? Pag pababa, dumadami yung electrons. So, therefore, lumalaki po yung kanyang ionic radius. Naintindihan? So for this one, the correct answer is strontium 2 plus. How about cobalt 3 plus and cobalt 2 plus? Which is larger? Ang sagot ng karamihan ay we have cobalt 3 plus. Okay? So cobalt 3 plus. Okay. So why is this wrong? No? Bakit kaya mali ang ating cobalt 3 plus? Again, ang tanong kasi natin is larger. So again, ano yung ruling natin, guys? If you decrease the number of positive charge, mas lumalaki yung ating ion. Pag naman dinagdagan mo yung positive charge, mas lumiliit yung ating ion. Okay, so ano to siya guys ha? Let me correct lang ha. Pag sinabi nating higher protons, lesser electrons, um, essentially kasi ang implication niyan ay dumadami ang ating protons na nababawasan yung ating electrons. Okay? So, ang nagbabago lang po dito ay yung ating number of electrons. Hindi natin binabago yung ating number of protons. So, in that case, guys, ang explanation nandito ay lesser number of our electrons but the same number of protons. Ang implication kasi pag binago natin yung number of protons, we are changing the element. Okay? Kasi sino ba nagdi-dictate ng nagdi-dictate ng kanilang properties? It's your protons, right? Okay, so in that case, hindi natin siya binabago. Okay? Ayan. So for this, letter C, the correct answer is instead of cobalt 3 plus, it will be cobalt 2 plus. Okay? Naintindihan? Gets po? Gets? Okay. Ayan, very good everyone. Ayan. So for this, ayan yung ating tamang sagot, ano? So how about ionization energy? So ionization energy is the minimum energy required to remove an electron from a gaseous atom in its ground state. It's the minimum energy. Ibig sabihin, pinakamaliit na energy na kailangan natin para magtanggal ng electron sa outermost layer in its ground state. Ibig sabihin, say for example, you have here, 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 ano? Yung mga electrons po sa labas, again, bakit sila yung tinatanggal natin? Ba't sila yung kinoconsider natin primarily when it comes to ionization energy? Bakit kaya? Hmm. From your learnings kanina, bakit yung mga outer electrons natin yung tinatanggalan natin for ionization energy? What do you think? Anong reason niya? Yes, Harvey?
Since dahil po mas malayo na po siya sa nucleus.
Very good. So, mas malayo siya sa nucleus. Ano yung trend na nagde-decrease? Pag malayo siya sa nucleus, it's ano yung tinuro natin kanina? Yung pinakauna. Ano nagde-decrease sa kanya? It's sige, Benedict.
Effective nuclear charge.
It's your effective nuclear charge. Kaya po, ang ating ionization energy, pag, ano siya, kumbaga, pag mas malayo siya sa nucleus natin, mas konti yung ating ionization energy kasi it is the minimum energy required for us to remove an electron. So kung madaling i-remove yung electron, maliit po yung ating ionization energy. Again, pag madali pong i-remove yung electron, ay mas maliit yung ating ionization energy. So let's have here an example. Say for example, this is a theoretical atom, ano? This is a theoretical atom. Meron tayong electron sa loob. Sino ang mas mataas ang ionization energy? Sa labas o sa loob?
Loob po.
Mas mataas yung ionization energy doon sa loob. Kasi again, it's closer to the nucleus, meaning the effective nuclear charge is also closer. Okay? So in that essence, guys, malalaman natin na as we go nearer to the nucleus, the ionization energy also increases. Okay? So ang periodic trend natin dito is actually across the period, it increases. Bakit kaya? Bakit across the period nag-i-increase ang ating ionization energy? At pagpababa naman siya nagde-decrease yung ating ionization energy. Bakit? Hmm. Say for example, sodium and strontium. Hmm. Bakit kaya pababa ay nagde-decrease yung ating ionization energy pero nag-i-increase from left to right? Yes, Gabriel.
I think it's because if when you move uh right from left, you get more electrons in the same shell or in the same area. But when you go down, you get more electrons further away from the nucleus.
Okay? So, that's actually correct, ano? So, if you move away or as you go down the group, di ba nag-i-increase yung ating atomic radius, right? So, pag nag-i-increase ang atomic radius, mas lumalayo yung ating mga electrons from our nucleus. So maging implication yan, hihina yung ating effective nuclear charge. So that will make the electrons from the outermost layer highly susceptible na i-eject. Ibig sabihin sila yung mga dispensable. Sila yung mga pwede mong i-chapwera na lang, ano? So, ganun po yung ating mga outer electrons. Pwede mo silang tanggalin kasi wala sila masyadong nararamdaman na suporta from your nucleus, which is in the form of your effective nuclear charge. Okay? How about if increasing bakit siya nag-i-increase sa period? So as you can recall guys, pag nag-i-increase tayo sa period, what will happen? Across the period, what will happen? The ionic radius or your atomic radius also decreases. So mas magko-close sila. Kumbaga mas close yung interaction ng nucleus as well as our electrons, making them interact with one another strongly, thus the effective nuclear charge increases. Okay? So may nagtanong, ionization energy is directly proportional to the nuclear energy. So essentially guys, yes. So ibig sabihin, pag mas mataas po yung ating ionization energy, ibig sabihin nun, mas mahina yung kanilang effective nuclear charge. Okay? Ay, sorry. Pag mas taas yung ating ionization energy, ibig sabihin, mataas din pala yung ating effective nuclear charge. Sorry, it's directly related pala. Okay? So, pag naman mababa yung ating ionization energy, it means na mahina din yung ating effective nuclear charge. Okay? So, directly related siya. Pag tumaas yung ating effective nuclear charge, tumataas din yung ating ionization energy. So, ayan. As you can see, pag across the period, mas lumiliit siya. Therefore, mas malakas yung effective nuclear charge. And at the same time, mas mataas yung affinity niya for a certain electron. Okay? So, that would, ito yun yung kasi next natin. Mas mataas na yung affinity niya for a certain electron, making them less likely na mag-give away ng electrons. So, one example of this is, say, for example, no, fluorine versus sodium. Okay? Sino ang mas malakas mag-pull ng electrons? Is it fluorine or is it sodium? Sino mas malakas mag-pull ng electrons? Is your fluorine. Kasi nga, di ba, from high school, sabi, halogens. Halogens are highly electronegative. Ganyan. So, in that essence, guys, mas malakas po mag-pull yung ating mga fluorine atoms kasi mas willing silang tolerate ng negativity as compared to positivity. So, isipin nyo yung mga fluorine natin, they are, sila yung mga I can fix him mentality, ano? So, parang ganun siya. Okay, stick tayo sa negative kasi mas nagtatribe ako pag negative yung kasama ko. Okay? So, ganun yung mentality ng fluorine. Meanwhile, yung sodium natin, ayoko na. Sa'yo na yung electrons ko. Kasi ayoko ng negativity sa buhay. Okay? So, in terms of your ionization energy, mas mababa po yung ionization energy ng ating sodium kasi mas willing siyang magbigay ng electrons as compared to your fluorine. Okay? So if I'm going to ask you guys, how about oxygen and fluorine? Sino kaya mas mataas ang ionization energy? Oxygen or fluorine? Sino? Fluorine pa rin po. Okay, very good. Kasi again, mas electron favored ang ating mga fluorine. Mas gusto nila ng mga electrons as compared to other atoms. Okay, well, in fact, ang pinakamataas po na electronegativity ay yung ating fluorine atom, which is we will tackle on later. Okay? Naintindihan? Again, ionization energy, minimum energy siya, guys. Minimum, hindi siya maximum energy. Okay? So, it's the minimum energy required for you to remove an electron in the gaseous state. Okay? So, gaseous state siya, okay? Hindi pa natin minimeasure in terms of your liquid state. Naintindihan? Naintindihan po? Okay. Sige. Okay, very good. Let's now move on to your... Ayan. So, let's have here an example for your ionization energy. Ano? If the electron configuration of titanium is Ar4s2 3d2, what is the electron configuration of titanium 2 ion? Ano ang electron configuration ng titanium 2 ion? Can someone give me the correct answer? What's the electron configuration? Gamitin niyo to nasa given. Gamitin niyo to. Ano ang electron configuration ng ating titanium 2 ion? Hmm. 4s0, 3d2. So technically, meron pa bang electron sa 4s? Kung 4s0 yan, pwede mo pang i-simplify yan. Okay, meron sagad na 4s1, 3d2. Okay. So the correct answer is actually AR3D2. Bakit? Kasi ito naman, matututunan nyo naman ito sa unang lecture ko, no? So, pag sinabi mo kasing n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, n is equal to 3, n is equal to 4, ito po yung mga principal quantum numbers natin or sila yung mga nagdidictate kung nasaan siyang layer ng electrons, okay? So, ibig sabihin, pag mas tumataas ito, ibig sabihin, mas mataas yung n value natin, it means that we are farther away from the nucleus, making them, kumbaga sila yung mga outermost. So in this case, kung meron tayong 1, 2, 3, 4, ang nasa pinaka-outermost po, yung pinakamalayo sa ating nucleus is your orbital number, n is equal to 4. So pag magtatanggal tayo ng electrons, sila yung primarily matatanggalan ng electrons. Naintindihan? Okay? Nag-guess po ninyo this item kung paano siya sagutan? Okay, sige. Very good, everyone. Ayan. Ayan. Okay? So, the ionization energy must be noted also that it increases as you go from the first ionization energy, second ionization energy, and third ionization energy, and so forth. Ibig sabihin yan, ito yung discussion natin kanina, no? So, say for example, we have this here. We have a theoretical atom here, okay? Yan. Yan, kunwari ganyan siya. Theoretical lang naman to. Hindi naman nag-exist talaga yung ganyang atom. Pero just to prove a point, ano? So if I remove this, let's say for example, this is our ionization energy number 1. Okay? So ibig sabihin yung, ito naman yung ating ionization energy 2, ionization energy 3. So if I'm going to ask you guys, can you arrange them in order of increasing ionization energy? How will you answer this one? Increasing ionization energy. Sino po ang may pinakamataas na ionization energy? It's your 3 followed by your, sino susunod? 1 or 2? This is 3, 2, and your 1. Very good. Kasi again, pag po tinanggal mo na to, sorry. Pag tinanggal mo yung pinaka nasa labas, ibig sabihin matitira na lang sa'yo ay ito. Eh kung papansinin nyo guys, anong nangyayari? Mas malayo o mas malapit sa nucleus? Mas malapit. So therefore, mas malakas po yung kanilang effective nuclear charge, rendering them more stable. Naintindihan? Gets? Okay, sige. Ayan. So that's how you determine your ionization energies. Okay? So just to give you a table, ano? Ayan. Look at here, the different ionization energies for different atoms, ano? So as you can recall, we have here argon. So ano yung argon natin? Anong type of, ano siya? Anong type of atom siya? Halogen, metal, non-metal, ano siya? It's a noble gas. Anong pagkakaalala sa mga noble gas? Ito yung mga species or mga atoms na highly stable because they are able to reach their octet rule or their expanded octet rule. Okay? So, sila po yung mga highly stable. So, kaya po mataas ang ionization energy ng ating mga argon atoms or ating mga halogen atoms, ang ating mga noble gas atoms is because stable na sila. So, kung stable na sila, gusto pa ba nilang matanggalan ng mga matanggalan ng matanggalan ng mga electrons, no? Siyempre hindi na. Kasi nga stable na sila. Di mo na sila pwedeng galawin, okay? So untouchable na sila. Para silang mga bato, na mahirap mo nang pitakin. Mahirap siyang igulong, mahirap pitakin, ano? So, ganun yung ating mga noble gases. So, if I'm going to ask you here some sort of idea question, ano? If you're going to look at this one, ano yung ruling natin, guys? 'Di ba? Pag nagbo-move tayo from the first ionization energy, ibig sabihin for ionization energy of the first dapat mas maliit siya sa ating ionization energy ng second, mas maliit siya sa ionization energy ng third, 'di ba? But why is this the case? If you can see here, tingnan natin ito ha. Ayan. As you can see here, ayan. The first ionization energy of sodium is at 496 kilojoule per mole. The second ionization energy of sodium is 4560 kilojoules per mole. For magnesium naman, ang first ionization energy is 738. And the second ionization energy is 1450. Okay, so I'm going to ask you two questions. So first is, why is this the case? Yung una, yung 496 versus 738, bakit mas mataas ang first ionization energy ng magnesium? Yun yung una kong tanong. Bakit mas mataas ang first ionization energy of your magnesium? Bakit? Hmm. Does it have, yun ba siya? Pag more electrons? Okay. So, okay. So, nandun siya sa right ng ating sodium, ano? So, therefore, pag pinagsama-sama niyo yung mga sagot niyo, makukuha niyo yung tamang sagot. Kasi nga, mas maliit yung atom ng magnesium. Mas malapit po siya saan? Mas malapit yung kanyang mga electrons sa nucleus, making the first ionization energy masyado siyang mataas kasi nga, again, mataas yung ionization energy kasi nga mas maliit yung ating atom for your magnesium. Okay? How about for the second ionization energy? If we follow the same trend, bakit kaya mas mataas ang second ionization energy of sodium as compared to your magnesium? Eh di ba nga nung sa first ionization energy, yung magnesium natin, ano siya, mas mataas yung kanyang ionization energy. Pero bakit? Okay? So, why is this the case? Sodium, mas mataas ang kanyang second ionization energy as compared to your magnesium. Okay, nakikita ko yung mga sagot ninyo, pero may hinahanap ako. May nahanap akong word. Okay, sige, Benedict.
Sir, ang try ko po, sir, about, sir, sa ano, since kasi pag natanggal na po natin, sir, yung electron, sir, from the sodium, sir, since it has one outermost electron, sir, pag tinanggal po natin siya, magsasatisfy po siya sa octet rule, sir, and since we know, sir, that the it will somehow behave like a argon, or what we call the noble gas, sir, and it is a stable, since yung sabi niyo po kanina, since stable elements tend to have higher IE, therefore that explains, sir, why the second IE, sir, has the higher IE.
Okay? So that's actually correct. It's actually because nagiging octet na po yung ating sodium as compared to your magnesium. So tama din yung sagot ni Joseph, ano? So pag sinabi mo kasing octet rule na siya sa mga maliliit na atoms, hindi mo na siya dapat galawin kasi nga stable na siya. So yung sodium, na-achieve natin yung octet rule by just removing one electrons. Meanwhile naman, yung ating magnesium, na-achieve natin yung octet rule by removing your two electrons. Okay? So actually, malalaman ninyo guys kung stable na ba siya or not. Kasi if you're going to look at this one, 496 kilojoules, bigla naging 4560. Halos times 10 yung kanyang taas ng ionization energy. Ibig sabihin na pag masyado nang malaki yung factor or yung ratio ng second ionization energy to your first ionization energy, after the first, ibig lang sabihin nun, na-achieve na natin yung kanyang octet rule. Okay? So again, the reason for this one ay because meron tayong mga octet rule na sinusunod or yung extra stability given by completion of your 8 electron rule. Okay? So, ganyan siya. Ayan. So, yan lang naman tanong natin. Ayan. Yan naman na siya. Okay? So, sagot yun naman na kanina. Okay? So, how about electron affinity? Well, medyo baliktad lang naman siya ng ating ionization energy, ano? The electron affinity is defined as the change in energy or delta E of a neutral atom in the gaseous phase when an electron is added to form a negative ion. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yan, guys, yung kung ang ionization energy ay nagtatanggal tayo ng electrons, si electron affinity naman ay nag-a-accept ng electrons in the gaseous form. Okay. If I'm going to ask you guys, ang trend na na-observe natin dito ay across the period, it increases and down the group, it decreases. Okay? So, bakit kaya, okay, this is in terms of your delta H, ha? This is in terms of your delta H, okay? So, bakit kaya nag increase siya across the period? Ba't nag increase yung electron affinity? Bakit kaya? Hmm. Do you have an idea? Bakit nag increase yung electron affinity from left to right? And nagde-decrease naman siya from from top to bottom. Okay? Do you have an idea how why is this the case? Okay. May sasagot. So, the electrons go closer to the octet rule. Pwede. Because the need to gain electrons increases as we go to the right. Medyo, siguro expound pa further. The increase in nuclear attraction. Pwede, okay? So, the main reason for this one, bakit siya nag-i-increase yung electron affinity, kung ano yung change in energy of a neutral atom to form its negatively charged. So, say for example, this one, fluorine to F minus. Bakit kaya nag-i-increase siya from left to right? It's because, guys, yung ating mga yung ating mga ah, atoms sa right side, sila yung ating mga non-metals. And as you can recall, guys, anong gusto ng mga non-metals? Do they want to accept or do they want to eject electrons pag non-metals? They want to accept the electrons. So, ibig sabihin, pag binigyan mo siya ng electrons, mas willing siya. Kaya yung electron affinity, di ba? It's the change of energy. Mas nagiging malaki siya yung change ng energy. Okay? Mas nagiging malaki yung change ng energy kasi mas nagiging gusto niya yung ganong phase. Okay? So say for example, you have fluorine and yung fluorine gas to fluorine ion in the gaseous form. So, mas gusto kasi ng fluorine natin mag-accept ng electrons, making the change in their energy most likely favorable. Okay? So, dahil gusto niya, talagang i-accept niyan kasi mas nagiging stable siya pag nag-negative charge. Okay? So, in that essence, guys, nag-increase siya from left to right. How about from top to bottom? Bakit ka nagde-decrease yung ating electron affinity? Okay? Kasi nga, as you can recall, pag lumalaki yung ating atom, mas lumalayo yung ating mga electrons to our nucleus. Pag lumayo po siya sa ating nucleus, mas mahina yung ating effective nuclear charge. So in other words, mas mahina po mag-pull yung ating nucleus if masyadong malaki yung ating atom. Making that, yung pag-add ng another electron to the outermost layer, less likely. Okay? Mas ayaw niya. Kasi nga, mas mahina yung kanyang effective nuclear charge. Naintindihan? Nagigets yung concept? Yung na-imagine ninyo yung sinasabi ko? Okay? Pag lumalaki, humihina yung kanyang effective nuclear charge, and at the same time, mas hindi na siya willing mag-accept ng electrons. Okay? So that's the case. Ayan. Ayan. So the higher the electron affinity, the more likely an element will accept an electron. This explains why nonmetals have a higher electron affinity than your metals. Okay, so if I'm going to ask you guys, sino mas mataas ang electron affinity? Is it sulfur or oxygen? Sino mas mataas ang electron affinity? It's your oxygen. How about oxygen versus nitrogen? Sino? Okay, oxygen. How about hydrogen versus helium? Sino sabing hydrogen? Okay? Sige. Sino sabi ng helium? Okay. May I know the reason why bakit sagot ninyo ay hydrogen? Sige. Benedict?
Because I think, sir, helium, sir, is the stable element of helium, sir, has 2 electrons, and if it has 2 electrons, it is stable, and therefore it is a noble gas, and it will not accept electrons, sir.
Okay? So, the main reason for this is actually, yung hydrogen kasi natin, guys, it can exist in the form of your hydride. Ibig sabihin, maging H minus siya. Bakit kaya mas willing mag-accept si hydrogen ng electron as compared to your helium? Kasi nga, tama yung explanation ni Benedict, ano? Kasi noble gas na si helium. Wala na yan pakialam sa iba. Ano siya? Nonchalant na siya, okay? So, nonchalant na yung ating mga helium atom, kaya hindi na siya ganun magre-react or wala na siyang pakialam sa mga affinity. Kumpleto na siya. Okay? Meanwhile naman, pag yung hydrogen, meron siyang mas may pake siya sa mga electrons na nag-exist sa system kasi nga, hindi naman siya noble gas configuration. Okay? So in that essence, guys, hydrogen is more willing to accept electrons. Okay? Ayan. So this is the trend. As you can see here, the electron affinity increases from increasing atomic number, and it decreases significantly if you have a formation of your noble gas. Okay? Ayan. So let's have here naman electronegativity. So the electronegativity of an element is a measure of its ability to attract electrons in a covalent bond. Okay? So what's the main difference between electronegativity and electron affinity? Pag kasi sinabi natin electronegativity, guys, kailangan nasa bond siya. Ibig sabihin, say for example, hydrogen and fluorine or hydrogen and nitrogen. Okay? So sino mas electronegative dito? Of course, is your fluorine and your nitrogen. Ang implication po kasi ng negative charge or electronegativity ay saan maglalay probably yung ating mga electrons. Okay? So yeah, tama. Ability to attract electrons in another atom in a bond. Okay? So kung papanoorin niyo yung aking first session, I have discussed there the Schrodinger's uncertainty principle. Ano na nga ulit yung ating uncertainty principle? Ibig sabihin, alam natin guys na merong electrons doon pero hindi natin alam exactly nasaan siya nakikita or nasaan siya located at any instance in time. So say for example, ngayon nagsasalita ako, probably iniisip kong position ng electrons ko, nagbago na yan. Okay? So you cannot exactly pinpoint where the electron is. However, alam natin from the Schrodinger's uncertainty principle kung saan pinaka-probable na maglay yung ating mga electrons. Okay? So, kaya ako siya nare-relate sa electronegativity. So, say for example, we have here a bond. Sinong mas electronegative? Is it fluorine or is it hydrogen? Sinong mas mataas ang electronegativity is your fluorine. So, therefore, guys, in consideration with your Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, saan kaya dito sa ating compound na to maglalay yung ating mga electrons most of the time? Kaninong side mas malapit? Sa hydrogen or kay fluorine? Very good. It's closer to your fluorine atom. Okay? Kasi nga again, the fluorine atom pulls the electron density towards itself. rendering this partial, partial negative, and partial positive. Okay? So, ang trend natin dito, it increases from left to right and decreases from top to bottom. Bakit? Again, it's because of your effective nuclear charge and your atomic radius. So, ibig sabihin, yung fluorine natin, mas kaya po niyang mag-bear ng negative charge as compared to, say, for example, carbon, ano? Kasi nga, mas malakas yung kanyang effective nuclear charge, making them attract less or attract more electrons. Okay? As you go down, lumalayo yung ating electron cloud or outermost electron from our atom. Ibig sabihin, mas mahina yung kanyang effective nuclear charge, making them less likely na attract ng electrons further. Okay? So you need to understand, guys, ng electron affinity sinasagot niya kung gaano ka willing mag-accept yung neutral or yung ground state atom ng electrons in the gaseous state, pag naman electronegativity ay kung gaano kalakas manghila ng electrons in a covalent bond. Okay? So you need also to consider that electronegativity, guys, it's a phenomenon between bonded atoms, between the outermost layer of that bounded atom, not bounded compound. So, ibig sabihin yung outermost layer, say for example, ng hydrogen, it is the one that interacts closely with your electron cloud of the fluorine atom. Hindi po siya yung, again, yung inner electrons. Is always, when it comes to bonds, yung mga electron movement ng bonds is always your outermost layer of electrons. Naintindihan? Okay, sige. Ayan. So let's have here naman the properties of oxides across a period. So consider the third period of the periodic table, the oxides of the metal. So ano lang to, medyo ano to, man knowledge, pero medyo may pagka knowing aspect siya yan. So what is it? Let's say for example, the oxides of sodium and magnesium when reacted with water form basic solutions. Ibig sabihin guys, sila po yung ating mga nagpo-form na mga basic na compounds. Okay? Yung mga nandyan sa third period of the periodic table. Meanwhile naman, yung mga oxide of aluminum is amphoteric, meaning it can act as an acid or a base. So if I'm going to ask you guys, bakit kaya yung mga sodium natin at magnesium natin, they tend to form more basic solutions in terms of our periodic trends? Bakit kaya yung mga sodium at magnesium, mas favor sila mag-form ng mga basic solutions? Ano natin yung mga basic solutions? The ones that are rich in hydroxide and ion. Pag naman yung mga acidic, they are the ones rich in H plus ion. Okay? So, bakit kaya mas nagiging favorable yung pag-form ng basic compounds sa ating mga sodium and magnesium metal uh, instead of making them acidic? What's the reason for this? From your trends, from your understanding of trends, ano? Hmm. Bakit kaya? Sodium and magnesium. Okay, nagiging highly basic sila. Pero pag aluminum, na nandun din naman sa same row na yon, nasa same row lang din siya. Bakit kaya mas mataas ang kanyang, ibig sabihin mas nagiging acidic siya or amphoteric. Okay, amphoteric properties. Do you have any idea why is this the case? Do you have any idea why is this the case, guys? Hmm? Wala? Walang gusto mag-attempt? Charge? Not exactly. Depends on the period. Okay, sige, may nakikita akong tamang sagot. Sige. Ay, sige, let's explain this one, ano? So guys, anong ginagawa kasi natin when it comes to this one, ano? If you can recall, sino ang mataas ang electron affinity? Yung mga nasa left or nasa right? Sige, before we proceed there, let's look at some examples muna. So, say for example, this one, no? Okay, this one, yan. Mm. This is how we form sodium hydroxide sa system. Okay. So let's have this example. Ano? Anong naalala ninyong property of sodium ang willing magbigay ng electrons? Dalawang aspect, di ba? So one is actually your electron affinity and your electron negativity. Okay. So if I'm going to ask you guys, sino mas nag-govern dito? Is it electron negativity or is it electron affinity? Negativity, bakit? Bonded. Okay. So in this case, guys, tatandaan nyo, when it comes to groups 1 and 2, ibig sabihin yung mga sodium and magnesium group, ano, ang isipin niya, nandun siya sa left side of our periodic table. So, sabi natin, kunwari, explain natin in terms of our electron affinity, ano, willing ba yung mga sodium and magnesium mag-accept ng electrons? Willing ba sila? Hindi. So anong gusto nilang gawin? Is it accept or give away their electrons? Give away their electrons. If I'm going to ask you guys from your high school, ano, pag nilagyan mo ng tubig yung sodium hydroxide, you're actually forming Na plus OH minus. Okay. So in this case, guys, kanino napunta yung ating mga electrons? Is it sodium or is it OH minus? Kanino napunta? Sa OH minus. Kaya ang ibig lang sabihin yan, guys, kaya nagpo-form ng mga basic oxides ang ating mga sodium or magnesium, yung mga groups 1 and 2, kasi willing silang ibigay yung buong electron density towards your water atom or your hydroxide ion. Okay? So in that essence, nagiging very strong bases sila. Malalakas silang base kasi willing silang ibigay yung buong electron density nila para dun sa kamatch nilang oxide. Ano? So how about aluminum? Why is it the case na pag yung mga aluminum, they tend to be amphoteric? So the reason for this is actually, yung mga aluminum kasi natin guys, saan siya nakikita? Sa group 3 na siya, di ba? Sabihin, medyo nandun siya sa mga mas malapit sa mga non-metals. Okay? So in that essence guys, yung property niya nag-iiba. So ibig sabihin, mas willing ba siya magbigay ng electrons or mas willing siya mag-accept ng electrons? As compared to sodium and magnesium, mas willing na siya mag-accept ng electrons. Okay? So in that case, nagiging Lewis acid siya. Kasi again, ano yung definition ng Lewis acid from our high school? It is an electron pair acceptor. Okay? Kasi nga guys, ang ating mga aluminum, mas willing na siyang mag-act as a electron acceptor as compared to your sodium and magnesium, which are highly favored in terms of your basic conditions. Naintindihan po para na-apply yung ating periodic trends in examples in chemistry? Naintindihan? Hindi lang po laging tanong sa university ay sino ang mas mataas ang ionic radius. Hindi ganun ha. Usually, ang mga pinatanong sa mga ganito, sa mga chemistry exams ay hindi yung direct na knowledge question, yung what, no? Ang most of the time tinatanong dito ay, ganyan, anong implication niyan? O bakit yung mga metal oxides, ganyan? Bakit yung mga aluminum, iba naman yung kanilang property? Okay? So, yan siya. So, the oxides of our nonmetals form acidic solutions kasi nga, again, they are more willing now to accept electron pairs. Ayan siya. Okay? Ayan. So for the amphoteric behavior of our Al2O3, so ayan, as you can see here in the first example, it will act as your base. Okay? In the second example, it will act as your acid. Kasi again, we are having here HCl, we're having here NaOH. Ano nangyayari sa kanya? It will react as an acid or it will react as your base. Okay? So ito yung mga acid ito yung conjugate acid ng ating Al2O3. Ito naman yung conjugate base ng ating Al2O3. Okay? So, ganyan siya. It can behave as either an acid or a base. Okay? So, ayan yung mga reactions of our non-metallic naman, oxides with metal. As you can see here, we have P4O10, no? So, plus 6H2O, that is essentially equal to your phosphoric acid. So, lahat po ng mga non-metallic oxides, say for example, most of them, ano na lang, yun na lang ang term natin. Kasi hindi ko sure kung lahat-lahat talaga sila as in 100%. Okay, so sabihin mo na ay most of them. Okay? So the most of our non-metallic oxides, they will form acids in the presence of water. So say for example, ano, ang ating eto SO3 or at ang ating sulfite, okay? So in this case, if lagyan natin ng water yung ating SO3, it will form your sulfuric acid. Okay? Pag naman ating Cl2O7, ano? If lagyan na siya ng water, it will still form an acid. So this is because, again guys, mas willing na po sila mag-accept ng electron density as compared to your metals na side. Okay? Naintindihan, guys? Naintindihan? Okay, so very good. Do you have any questions, guys, that you may want to ask? May gusto ba kayong tanungin? Ano naman? Okay. So I guess we can take a 10-minute break siguro since we are studying for over an hour na before we start our lesson on uh tawag dito? VSEPR. Okay? So ano again guys, later on, siguro kahit later this day, mag-allot lang kayo ng mga 30 to 40 minutes sa panonood ng unang video ko, ano? So it will cover uh yung mga quantum stuff ng chemistry, okay? So as far as I know, 40 minutes ata yung recording. Ayan. Tapos I'll upload the problem set later on for our first two sessions. Okay? So sige, let's be back at 2:11 ay 2:21, okay? For the resume natin yung session natin. Okay? Sige. Okay. So again, let's resume guys. For this ano naman, for the continuation, I hope that we can finish this. But if not, ano na lang, upload ko na lang din yung if ever itong ganito para you can study them, okay? Pero meron naman tayong mga modules for this one na, so you can read them also. Okay? So for this, let's have here molecular geometry. So the molecular geometry is the 3D or the three-dimensional arrangement of our atoms in a certain molecule. So kaya natin inaaral ang ating mga molecular geometry kasi it affects several properties of our atoms. Okay? So, again, recall guys na electrons in the valence shell repel one another. So, as you can recall, di ba, ang ating mga electrons, they tend to repel each other since they are with the same charge. Okay? So, ang goal po natin sa paggagawa ng isang molecular geometry, syempre pag meron kang repulsion dito, o may mga electrons dito, meron ding electrons dito, ano? Magkakaroon yan ng away, may repulsion yan. So, ano pong mangyayari sa kanila? It makes your compounds unstable. Okay? So, ganyan po yung mangyayari sa kanila pag hindi natin sila na-orient in a proper way such that mamiminimize natin yung repulsion. Hence, dyan papasok ang ating VSEPR or our valence shell electron pair repulsion model or yung VESPER theory natin. Okay? So, for the molecular geometry versus your electron geometry, so ang molecular geometry po, it's the arrangement of our bonded atoms. Bonded atoms, okay? Pag naman sinabi mong electron geometry, it is the arrangement of atoms in consideration with our lone pairs. So, say for example, we have here water, ano? Let's have here water. Ang kanyang molecular geometry ay essentially bent. Ibig sabihin, ganyan siya. Okay? May bent siya na molecular geometry. So, kasi again, ang kinoconsider natin dito ay ito lang tatlo. This one and this one. Okay? Wala tayong pakialam sa lone pair if sinabi natin na molecular geometry as if ganyan lang siya. Okay? How about if we say that a compound or we are very particular with the electron geometry? Because you can see here, nag-iiba siya nagiging tetrahedral kasi ano nagiging itsura nito? So let's have here oxygen, hydrogen, may hydrogen dito, tapos meron nasa likod na lone pair, yan, lone pair na dalawa, nasa likod yan. Tapos meron nasa taas na lone pair. Okay? So, ganyan po siya. So, technically, guys, main difference nila, ang electron geometry, meron tayong lone pair na kino-consider, and ang ating namang mga molecular geometry ay wala tayong lone pair na kino-consider. Okay? So, the double, triple bonds can be considered as a single domain. We can see that later on. Okay? So, for the VSEPR, there are several steps to do it. No? So, first, write the Lewis structure. Then count the electron domains, then predict your geometry, and consider your bond angles. Okay? So, if magte-take kayo ng Chem 19, this is actually one of your first experiments, ano? Yung pag-intindi sa VSEPR. Okay? So, again, this is based on the 3D arrangement of your molecules in a compound. Okay? So, let's have here, kunwari, BeCl2. What is BeCl2? It's beryllium chloride. Okay? So, pag sinabi mong beryllium chloride, hindi pa siya ganun kalaki. So, wala siyang excess na electrons. Okay? So, in this case, ang nagiging electron, the way that we do this is essentially, isulat muna natin yung Lewis structure ng ating beryllium chloride. Okay? BeCl2. Okay? Tapos, i-check natin, meron bang lone pair? Pag may dalawang lone pair, kunwari ito, beryllium, kunwari lang ha, kunwari lang, hindi po yan totoo. Kunwari may dalawang lone pair yan, hindi po magiging simply linear yung ating structure. Rather, magkakaroon tayo ng either bent, either tetrahedral, okay? So that's the effect of your electron or your lone pairs in your system. Okay? So hindi po siya basta-basta na pag bent yan, laging bent siya, okay? So merong ibang changes because of the presence of your lone pair. Okay? So for 3 electron domains, we have here several examples, okay? So first is actually ito. Let's have here BF3. Yung BF3 natin. So first, let's draw the Lewis structure of BF3. What's boron? Ano yung boron natin? Below ba siya, ay sakop ba siya ng octet rule? Yes or no? Boron. Hmm. Boron, guys. Boron. Saan siya sa periodic table? Hindi siya sakop ng ating octet rule. Okay? Actually, yung boron natin, it's your pre-octet rule. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yung mga hindi nasasapat yung kanilang electrons to make 8. Okay? So, less than sila ng mga ganon. Okay? So, in this case, guys, pag sinabi nating BF3, what we need to do is actually, the way that I studied this anong undergrad is, pinamiliarize ko muna yung sarili ko dun sa ano yung mga usual na electron domains. Kuwari, meron akong trigonal planar, mga bent, ayan. So actually, if you want to study this further, you can read, and I advise you guys na pag pasok sa college, hindi na pwede yung hindi ka nagbabasa ng libro, ano? So you always read your books. So I can recommend studying further yung ganito, yung mga electron geometry under kay Chang, Chang Chemistry. So, ano siya? Raymond Chang. Raymond Chang. Okay? So, meron siyang libro na ganyan. You can search it sa, ano, sa book catalogs natin if meron kayo. Ayan. So, yan. So, for BF3, guys, first thing is you need to draw your Lewis structure. So, ituturo rin naman ito when you go to first year, yung mga Lewis structure natin. After which, bibilangan kasi natin kung ilan yung lone pairs niya. So say for example, ating fluorine, ilan kaya yung lone pair ng ating fluorine mismo? It has 1, 2, 3. Tapos, ito kasi, itong dalawang ito, they make up your octet rule. Okay? Same as with 1, 2, 6, we have octet rule. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, you have your octet rule. Okay? So the first thing na kailangan ninyong maintindihan when you're doing VSEPR ay kailangan marunong kayo mag-drawing ng Lewis structure. Okay? So first is draw your Lewis structure, then assign your kung gaano karaming yung mga lone pair sa system, ano? Tapos saka kayo magbigay ng ilan ba yung electron domain, ilan ba yung bonding domain. Okay? So if we have 3 electron domains, what the orientation of the 3D orientation of our compound is what you call a trigonal planar. Okay? Kung isipin yung trigonal planar, guys, para siyang ano, kuwari dito ko siya titignan ha, kuwari dito ko siya titignan. Para siyang ano ganyan. Okay? So, ganyan yung ating trigonal planar. Okay, so, ay, sorry. No, sorry. This is incorrect. Oops. Kasi ba ako nakatingin? Okay? So, ang ating trigonal planar, sisilipin natin siya dito, ano? Para siyang nakaganyan. Okay? Ganyan lang siya. Dito natin siya sinisilip. Okay? So, technically, wala ka nakikita na mga atoms na hindi siya nasa same plane. Kaya po tinatawag natin siya trigonal planar kasi planar yung kanyang conformation or yung kanyang 3D na structure. Okay? However, hindi po lahat, guys, hindi lahat ng ng tawag dito, ng 3 electron domains ay lagi siyang planar. So say for example, SnCl2. As you can see here, meron kasing lone pair si Sn. This will make your compounds, kumbaga mas magbe-bend siya. Kuwari, ito siya. Say for example, assume natin muna na walang lone pair si Sn. So, kunwari, ganito siya. Nakaganyan yung angle, no? Again, medyo magli-linearize siya. Cl, Cl. Kuwari, ganyan ha. Ayan. Pag merong lone pair na yung ating Sn, ang mangyayari sa kanya, guys, ay Sn, bababa itong Cl, Cl na to. Kasi mas malakas po magbigay ng repulsion yung mga lone pair kasi hindi siya shared between two atoms. So in that essence, mas malakas po siya magbigay ng repulsion making our compound adjust to your to your number of lone pairs. Okay? So ang mga pwede po sa 3 electron domain is one is yung trigonal planar, and the other is your bent or trigonal na planar conformation. Okay? So again, hindi po siya most of the time ay lagi lang bent or lagi lang trigonal planar. It can exist in different electron configuration depende sa dami or bilang ng iyong mga lone pairs. Okay? Yan. So what are the effects of double bonds and your mga lone pairs? Okay, so for double bonds, they have higher electron density and it can repel the single bonds more strongly. So say for example, yung kanina natin, look at this one. This is a single bond. This is a single bond. And this is your double bond. So if you're going to compare this na walang double bond, ang bond angle niyan is around 120, 120 at 120. Okay. If in this case, as you can see here, yes, pareho siyang trigonal planar, pero yung isa ay 122, yung isa naman ay 116 lang, and yung isa ay 122. So bakit kaya nagiging ganyan? We'll tackle this further in terms of your hybridization in the latter sessions. Pero as of now, ang tandaan nyo lang guys, ay yung mga double bonds kasi natin, they tend to have stronger electron-electron repulsion, making them force these bonds to mas maglapit. Kasi nga, mas malakas yung repulsion netong dalawang ito. Okay? So, magkakaroon siya ng effect for this one para ma-maximize natin yung stability ng ating compound. Okay? So how about the effect of our lone pairs? So the lone pairs are closer and they interact solely with the central atom, thus repelling the bonding pairs more strongly. So tandaan niyo lang guys, pag meron tayong lone pair, mas malakas po siya mag-repulsion as compared to your bonding pairs, and it's because meron pong optimal na relationship yung ating mga bonding pair as compared to your lone pair kasi nasi-share yung electron densities between two atoms as compared to your lone pair. Okay? So in terms of arrangement, ang matataas ang repulsion is first is your lone pair, then lone pair bonding pair, then saka po si bonding pair and bonding pair repulsion. Okay? Lagi mas malakas po yung ating lone pair interaction. Okay? Naintindihan? Naintindihan po? Okay, sige. Pag naman mga 4 electron domains, we have several structures. So first is your tetrahedral. You also have your trigonal pyramidal and your bent. Okay? So let's compare them. Okay, so let's have here the example of methane. Ilan po yung bonding pair ni methane? Ilan? 4. Okay? So pag 4 yung bonding pair niya, so yung BP is equal to 4. Tapos yung lone pair natin, ilan yung lone pair? 0. So it means our configuration will be tetrahedral. Okay? How about, meron tayong NH3. Okay. So ilan po yung ating electron domain? 4 din. Okay? Ilan po yung bonding pair? Ilan yung bonding pair? 3. So BP, BP is 3. Ilan po yung lone pair? 1. So in this case, guys, ano mapapansin natin sa angle? Ano mapapredict ko sa angle? Tataas o bababa? Yung angle. Tataas o bababa? Yung isa tataas, well yung other yung magiging kuwari, say for example, tataas yung tataas yung angle niyan. Pero bababa pa yung angle in between your hydrogen atom. Kasi nga ifo-force niya yung sarili niya na isiksik yung mga bonding pairs natin kasi nga merong repulsion na nangyayari. Okay? How about for water? Ilan pong bonding pair si water? Ilang bonding pair? 2. Ilang lone pair? dalawa. So if you can expect this one, mas maliit po yung magiging bond angle ng water natin kasi ang tendency niya guys ay mas ma-enclose na yung dalawa. Okay? So yun lang po yung implication ng ating mga lone pair sa system. Naintindihan po? Naintindihan? Okay? So pag sinabi natin, may question dito, what is an electron domain po? So pag sinabi mo electron domain, lahat siya na nagkakaroon ka ng bonding pair or lone pair. Lahat po siya. So say for example, ito, ang ating CH4 ano, bonding pair 'yan, bonding pair, bonding pair, bonding pair. So all in total, yung kumbaga yung electron domain, siya lahat yung merong lone pair, siya na yung meron pang bonding pair. Okay? So yun siya. Pag sinabi mong bonding pair kasi it just pertains to a single na entity of bonding. Okay, pag naman sila may lone pair, yung lone pair doon sa central atom natin. Okay? So in that case, guys, again, yun yung difference ng ating electron domain sa mga bonding domain at dun sa ating mga lone pair na domain. Okay? Yan. So sa example naman natin kanina, para mas maklarong clarify, ano, ilan yung electron domain neto? Tatlo. Ilan yung bonding pair neto? Sa BF3, ilan ang bonding pair ng BF3? Tatlo. Lone pair, 0. Si CH2, ilan yung bonding pair? Hmm. Ilan ang bonding pair na CH2O? Tatlo, dalawa. Hmm. Tatlo pa rin, guys. Pero, yung tatlo kasi na yun, pagkaka-orient ng tatlo na yun, meron ka nag-exist na double bond. Okay? So, ang implication ng double bond ay papalitin yung angle ng isa, minimal yung isa, ay papataasin niya yung angle. How about SNCl2? O ilan domains yung SNCl2? Tatlo, di ba? Tatlong electron domain. Ilan ang bonding domain? Dalawa. Ilan yung lone pair domain? Isa. Okay? So that's the difference between your bonding and your lone pair na domain. Naintindihan po? Nafa-follow? Na-answer ba yung question? Na-answer ba yung question? Okay, okay na kayo doon sa question? Okay? Sige. Okay, sige. How about pag 5 domains? Again, meron naman tayo iba-ibang mga types of 5 domains. So first is yung trigonal bipyramidal. Okay? Meron din tayong mga seesaw and yung ating T-shape. Ito yung actually medyo pinaka-nakakalito. So tatandaan niyo lang guys, bilangan niyo muna ilan yung bounding, ay ilan yung ating electron domain. So sa PCl5, ilan? Ilan yung electron domain ni PCl5? 5. Ilan yung bonding domain? 5 din. Okay? So, bonding pair, 5. Ilan yung lone pair? Isa lang. Ay, 0 pala, 0. Okay. So, sa SF4, ilan po yung bonding pair ng SF4? 4. Tapos, isa. Si BRF3, 3, saka 2. Okay? Si I3 minus ay 3, saka, ay, 2, saka 3. Okay? So, anong implication niya, guys? As you can see here, nag-iiba po yung orientation ng ating mga atoms in reference to your lone pairs. So, say for example, ang ating PCl5 versus SF4, itong dalawang ito, no? Anong mapapansin niyo sa PCl5? Trigonal, bipyramidal siya, pareho. How about si SF4? Nagkakaroon na tayo ngayon ng molecular geometry na SISO. Okay? Bakit siya tinatawag na SISO, guys? Kasi ganito siya, oh. Ito yung central na atom natin. Meron siyang dalawang legs dyan. Tapos meron siyang dalawang legs din dito. So mukha siyang SISO. Diba? Kaya siya tinatawag na SISO. Okay? So ganun siya, guys. Trigonal bipyramidal, yung electron geometry niya, pero yung molecular geometry niya ay SISO. Okay? How about yung BRF3? Nalala ko to, medyo notorious to eh. Um, natanong siya sa amin before, tas namali ko tong item na to, kaya naalala ko to. BRF3, okay. Ang kanyang molecular geometry ay T-shape. Bakit kaya siya T-shape? Kasi, again, letter T siya. Ano? You have a compound here, as well as compounds here. Letter T. Okay? Nangyayari to pag meron kang dalawang lone pair na nag-exist dun sa ating central atom. Okay? Lone pair yan. So in that essence, guys, lumiliit po yung ating equatorial at yung ating axial na bond angles. Okay? Pag naman sinabi mong I3, meron tayong dalawang bonding pair, tas tatlong lone pair. Okay? Similarly lang, meron tayong trigonal bipyramidal. Pero yung molecular geometry natin naiiba kasi nagiging linear siya kasi nasa equatorial position yung ating tatlong lone pairs. Okay? So if you're going to note, guys, if you're wondering what is an equatorial and axial position, pag sinabi pong equatorial, say for example, I3, ano? This is the one iodine atom, another iodine atom, and another iodine atom. Pag sinabi pong axial, ito yung mga nagpo-protrude pataas or pababa. Pag sinabi mo namang equatorial, sila yung mga nandun sa yung ating gitna. Okay? So, naintindihan? Ito po yung ating equatorial. Ito yung axial position. So, in this case, ito yung equatorial position. Ito ulit yung axial position. Equatorial, axial. Okay? Naintindihan po? Naintindihan? Okay, sige. So, for 6 domains naman, as you can see here, SF6, ayan, meron tayong tinatawag na octahedral. Okay? So, papansin niyo guys, constant siya, octahedral, octahedral, bipyramidal, 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 bipyramidal. So, most of the time, nagbabago lang yung ating mga molecular geometry. Okay? So, doon kayo medyo mas mag-focus sa mga molecular geometry. Parang alalahanin niyo lang na okay, pag pag 5, edi trigonal bipyramidal, pag 6, octahedral, gano'n. Okay? So, what's the difference for this one? Again, we have here an octahedral system. Pag sinabi mo pong octahedral yung ating very good. So, pag sinabi mo octahedral, meron tayong 6 na electron domain. Okay? So, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, and this is 6. 6 po siya. Okay? So, ang pinaka-electron geometry dito ay yung octahedral system. Yung octahedral configuration. Pag sinabi naman na molecular geometry, pag isa yung ating lone pair, meron tayong square pyramidal. Parang ganito siya, guys. Nakaganyan siya. Okay? Tapos merong lone pair dito sa baba. Ayan yung square pyramidal. How about yung ating XEF4 naman? Meron din tayong square. This is not square pyramidal. This is square planar. Okay? Square planar siya. Kasi nagiging yung XE, nandito yung F, 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 F. Okay? So, nagiging square planar po yung ating complex. Okay? So, in that case, guys, again, nagbabago po yung mga geometry and everything based po dun sa kanilang orientation. Okay? Or based dun din sa kanilang mga lone pair sa system. Okay? Ayan. So, the shape of the molecule with more than one central atom. So, how do we do this? So, say for example, ito yun na. We have ethane gas. This is ethane gas. No? So, paano siya in terms of your arrangement in space? So, as you can see here, meron tayong kung di ba mapapansin niyo dyan, para siyang letter Z na kaganyan. Okay? Ba't ganyan? Ba't curve? Okay? Para silang letter Z, no? So in that case, guys, ang implication ng slide na to ay ino-orient natin yung ating mga molecules to some degree na ma-minimize natin yung kanilang repulsion between one another. So if I'm going to look at here, guys, no? If we're going to, kunwari, hawak-hawak niyo yung maganda sana nito meron tayong ano eh, yung sa face-to-face yung molecular model para mas makita niyo siya. Sige. Well, anyway, sige, imagine niyo muna guys, sinisilip ko yung ating compound na to dito sa carbon atom na to. Anong itsura niyan? Okay? So let's denote this as tong group na to, let's denote this as CH3. Okay? Sige. Ang itsura niyan guys, pag tinignan mo yung carbon na yan, kung hinarap mo yan na nakaganyan, no? Para nakaganyan ka sa kanya. Yan, nakaganyan siya. Yan. Pag hinarap mo ganyan, ang itsura niyan ay essentially, meron kang central point, no? Meron kang hydrogen sa taas, meron kang hydrogen sa gilid, may hydrogen ka sa gilid, yan. Tapos, meron kang atom sa likod, ayan. Meron kang hydrogen dito, at hydrogen dito. Na-imagine niyo guys, yung maliit na circle, siya po yung nasa harap. Ito po siya. Ito yung maliit na circle. Ito naman po yung malaking circle. Okay? So, kung papansin niyo guys, hindi siya nagko-coincide with one another. Merong space between them. And that is what you call your stable configuration or conformation kasi you are minimizing the steric repulsion. Okay? So, minimize po natin yan based dun sa ating given na compound. Okay? So, this is, ano lang, sa mga magte-take ng organic chemistry, no? So, this is what you call your Newman projection. Okay? So, yan po yung tawag natin. Newman, bagong tao, projection. Okay? So, pag view mo yung ating mga compounds in that case. Okay? How about this one? Oh. How about this one? How will you draw the Newman projection for this? Okay? So, similarly, you have hydrogen sa taas, hydrogen sa baba, hydrogen sa baba. Tapos, merong bilog sa likod nito, merong hydrogen na dalawa sa taas, tapos meron kang oxygen, hydrogen sa baba. Okay? So, na-imagine nyo po yung sinasabi ko, guys. Sisilipin nyo lang, para nakaganyan lang siya sa'yo. Okay? So, silipin nyo siya na nakaganyan. Definitely, nandito yung isang hydrogen, dito yung isang hydrogen, dito yung isang hydrogen. Okay? Tapos, sa likod naman niya, merong hydrogen dito din, hydrogen dito, at merong hydroxide sa baba. Sorry, wala akong mapakita sa inyong wala akong mapakitang 3D model sa inyo, no? Pero sige, sa next session siguro natin, try ko magpakita sa inyo ng 3D model para mas ma-imagine niyo yung sinasabi ko. Okay? So, ayan. So, pag naman meron tayong resonance na tinatawag, it always results in a partial bond. Ituturo ko din naman nito later on, ano? Pag sinabi mo may resonance, guys, it is a partial bond. Sabihin, kuwari ito, this is your NO3, nitrate, ano? So, pag meron kang nitrate ion dyan, it exhibits resonance. So, instead of this having a, say for example, tetrahedral geometry, anong nangyayari po sa kanya, nagkakaroon lang siya ng trigonal planar. So, lagi yan guys, pag may resonance siya, lagi siyang planar. Okay? Yung mga sides na affected ng resonance. So, say for example, ating tong nitrate, no? This is your nitrate ion. Lahat po niyan ay magiging trigonal planar. Okay? Meanwhile naman, in this case, ito po, lagi lang siyang, itong side na to, ito lang yung planar to some extent. Medyo naka-protrude yung isang methyl position natin dito. Okay? So, in that regard, again, just watch out for resonance stabilized structures which makes the geometry of the compound highly planar. Okay? So, let's have here naman yung ating dipole moment, ano? So, what do you call a dipole moment? So, dipole moment is the unequal sharing of electrons in a covalent bond due to the difference in the electron negativity. This is what I'm trying to say kanina. Pag binigyan kayo ng mga diagram, usually, pag ganyan, yung red na region, this is what you call your electron-rich region. Pag naman blue, yan yung mga blue natin, they are your electron deficient region. So if you can recall sa discussion natin kanina, HF yan, di ba? Sino mas electronegative, hydrogen or fluorine? Sino mas electronegative, hydrogen or fluorine? Fluorine. So therefore, the fluorine would attract the electron density from the hydrogen atom to your fluorine atom. So ano po mangyayari sa hydrogen? Mababawasan siya ng electron density. So pag nabawasan ng electron density, ano magiging charge niya? Partial negative or partial positive? Pag nabawasan ng electron, is a partial positive. So HF, ayan, you'll have a partial negative and partial positive. Just take note guys na hindi po siya ionic bonds. Pag sinabi mo kasing ionic bonds, you have electrostatic interaction. Pag naman sinabi mong covalent bond, later on, maaaral din naman natin. Pag sinabi mong covalent bond, they are the ones na nag-share ng electrons, di ba? Kaya po siya partial charge kasi hindi lahat binibigay nung hydrogen at hindi lahat kinukuha ni fluorine. To some extent, they are sharing their electrons with one another. So say for example, you have here NH, ano? Hindi po lahat ng electrons hindi po lahat ng electron density ni hydrogen napupunta lahat kay fluorine. To some extent, meron ding konting napupunta kay hydrogen. Most lang ng electron density mapupunta siya kay fluorine, rendering them partial positive or partial negative. Naintindihan po yung dipole moment? Huwag niyo na masyadong aralin tong formula na to. Just take note of this, no? Since most of the time naman, hindi naman pinapakalculate ang dipole moment natin. Naintindihan po? Naintindihan? Okay? Sige. So ano naman yung mga non-polar molecules? They are essentially the ones na equal po yung pagtanggal ng electron density. So say for example, carbon dioxide. Okay? Sino mas electronegative? Carbon o oxygen? Hmm. Oxygen. So therefore, papunta dito yung electron density, papunta naman dito yung electron density. So if you're going to review your physics classes, if we have two vectors at the opposite direction at the same magnitude, what will happen to that vector? It cancels out. So similarly, for nonpolar compounds, naka-cancel out po natin yung ating mga vector. Naintindihan? Gets. Okay. Sige. Very good. So, kaya very essential ang ating VSEPR kasi, again guys, hindi po lahat, say for example, say for example, what do you have? Say for example, sulfur. Okay. Yan. Sige. SO2 na lang. SO2 minus. Okay. So, do you think SO2 minus is polar or non-polar? What do you think? SO2 minus. Do you think this is polar or non-polar? Parang 2 minus nga ata to. So, 2 minus. Okay. Anyways, ayan. Do you think this is polar or non-polar? Polar? Why? Why is this polar? Medyo, medyo hula lang po. Okay? So, actually kasi guys, ang SO2 kasi, hindi na, pag SO2 2 minus, hindi po siya planar. So, in this case, merong lone pair dito. Ayan, may lone pairs dyan. Tapos, meron ka pang ganyan dyan. Okay? So in that essence, guys, if we're going to ask here, sinong mas electronegative? Sulfur o oxygen? Sino mas electronegative? Sulfur or oxygen? Sulfur or oxygen? Mas electronegative. Alahanin yan, sa tinuro natin kanina, it's your oxygen. So in that case, papunta dito yung electron density, papunta dito yung electron density. Okay, nagka-cancel out ba yan? Do they cancel out? Hindi po. Bakit? how do you draw the vector for that one? Meron kang vector na paganyan, meron ka ring vector na pababa. Similar sa force. Meron din ka ring vector paganyan, meron ka ring vector paganyan. This will cancel out, but this will remain. So, again, it's because of your electron geometry. Kaya po natin inaaral ang ating mga geometry kasi it will predict whether your certain compound probably polar ba yan or non-polar. Naintindihan po? Okay? Sige. So I think we can end here since we are hanggang 3 p.m. naman tayo, no? So next week, we'll be tackling ang ating mga polar molecules naman and as well as our calculations in chemistry. Okay? Okay, so sir, what's the main difference po of dipole moment from induced dipole? Okay? So pag sinabi mong dipole moment, it is the kumbaga quantitative measure of polarity. So say for example, meron tayong 5.4 debye. Okay? Ibig sabihin yan, 5.4 yung kanyang dipole moment. It's a measure of your polarity. It's a measure of your hindi man polarity technically. It's a measure of your electronegativity difference to some extent. 'Di ba? Parang okay, dito siya pupunta. So, yun yung charge natin. Okay, yun yung charge to some extent. Pag sinabi mong induced dipole, it's a phenomenon at which a certain non-polar molecule is rendered partially polar. It's because of your distortion of your electron clouds. Okay? Again, ang main difference po ng dipole moment from induced dipole, ang dipole moment, siya po yung quantitative measure. Ibig sabihin, na-calculate natin siya, ito yung charge niya, ito yung potential niya magkaroon ng dipole. Okay? Pag naman yung induced dipole, it's actually a phenomenon by which dipole molecules, say for example, water. Okay? So, kapansin niyo, ito let's extend for konti para since meron nag-question, ano? Sino mahilig magpansit canton? Sino magpansit canton? Ano napapansin niyo minsan pag nagluluto kayo ng pansit canton? 'Di ba pag ilalagay niyo yung mantika, 'di ba alam natin na immiscible ang water at mantika. Tama? Immiscible siya, 'di ba? Pero bakit to some extent, guys, pag nagluluto ka ng pansit canton, napaghahalo mo yung tubig at yung oil. Bakit kaya? Well, one factor is actually heat, but the other is actually because of your induced dipole moments. So kasi yung water natin, 'di ba? If you can recall, water, ang structure ng water, HOH. Yan. This will have a dipole moment papunta dyan, dipole moment papunta dyan. You will have partial negative dito sa taas at partial positive dito. So ano po mangyayari niyan when it interacts with a non-polar oil molecule? Ang gagawin po niya ay essentially it will induce a certain dipole to your non-polar molecule, rendering them partially or temporarily dipole. So kuwari, mga carbon-carbon natin, kakaroon yan ng partial negative, partial positive, kunwari. Okay? Pero again, mahina po yung ating mga induced dipole kasi momentarily lang yung kanilang stability. Hindi po sila lagi na nag-exist. It primarily depends kung ano yung nag-i-induce ng dipole at kung sino yung pinag-i-inducean niya ng dipole. Naintindihan po? Nasagot ba yung question? Okay, sige. So very good. So with that, we end our second session for science bridging program. So I'll see you guys again next week. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you po, sir.
Bye,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
Bye.